My name is Frankie FearLess. After a decade of being on a journey with the help of the plant medicine ayahuasca, I realized I've met some of the most amazing beings going through powerful awakenings. They have their own adventures, their own stories, their own wisdom and personalities. Today, I would like to introduce them to you. It's time we become something more together. This is FearLess Conversations. Hey, what's going on? It's your main man, Frank Castle, your sorcerer supreme, Frankie FearLess, your main man. And I'm here with FearLess Conversations. Today's guest, such an interesting woman, Karen Holton, an exopolitical activist and Ascension coach. ET and Angelic experiencer, exopolitical ambassador, holistic coach, and transdimensional channel. Her professional experiences include shamanic guidance, awakening and ascension counseling, as well as public disclosures. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge News Network, Karen hosts the Quantum Guide Show. This weekly podcast is ideally suited to the newly awakened and for those who are awake, but may be socially isolated by their alternative belief. She also hosts a podcast called Aliens and Angels, which focuses on personal paranormal experiences. Karen believes that self-love and self-care build the foundation for personal activism, awakening, and ascension as we become the change that we wish to see in this world. Check out Karen's unique content on most social media platforms at Karen Holton TV. So I'm going to provide all the links down in the description box for today's conversation. Karen, thank you so much. Welcome to FearLess Conversations. It's great to have you.
It's great to be here. I'm a big fan of yours, Frank, and love the work you do. I love the insights you have, and I love your generous heart. You know how you want to share that and the love out to everybody, and that's how we're going to change this world.
We've been speaking on your show. We've met a couple of times. We've had such interesting conversations. Very deep end of the pool stuff. Very much where I like to be. So today I want to introduce everyone to you. Okay. Tell us first a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm nothing really special. I'm an old lady who loves her cats. I live by myself. I believe in putting myself in my circle of care. I have two grown children and grandchildren, and I give of myself to them. And I don't have a lot to do with the social reality because I'm so busy producing my shows and preparing and getting the information out there to everybody. And also, I've been working on my book, and it's pretty much finished. I'm really excited, so I'm hoping to get that published in the next couple of weeks. And that's about it. I have been through everything that I think everybody else goes through in life. I've had my share of disappointments, bad health, extremely bad experiences with the medical industry. And I have found that everything I've experienced has made me stronger, wiser, and better able to cope with the shifting reality that we're living in today. So, yeah, so that's about it for my background.
So um what started your awakening? I'm curious.
Oh, my awakening actually started very, very young. And I mean really young. So for instance, when I was when I was about 3 months old, I got very, very sick. And in those days, the doctor used to come to the house. And the doctor came to the house and found me to be so ill. He bundled me up, put me in his car, and took me directly to the hospital. And they weren't 100% sure what was wrong with me, but they basically felt that I had meningitis and possibly polio. So I was isolated in a hospital for 6 weeks. And I think the reason I survived, Frank, is because as an adult, I went back to my baby self and ministered to myself in auric form or in ethereal form. So I don't really have any memories of seeing myself or whatever, but something inspired me to stay alive because for a little baby to be isolated and separated from its mom and its family for 6 weeks, there's a very low survival rate. And I survived quite well. So I think that was really the beginning. And then later on, I ended up having some horrible things happen to me. My younger brother and I, he was 2 and I was 4. We were sent to an abusive foster home. Well, we weren't sent to an abusive foster home. We were sent into foster care, and it turned out to be abusive. And because my mother was not really grown up, she was out partying all the time and she wasn't looking after us. And so her and my dad were splitting up and he didn't know what to do with us. So we got put in care and we were quite badly abused. But what happened to me was I was able to start I guess what you would call interdimensional contact. I was able to, because there was no place to go and no place to hide, and the abuse was quite significant. And I would just trip out as though I was on an ayahuasca trip, really, but except that I wasn't, and I was only 4 years old. And after that, I started having all kinds of paranormal experiences. Do you want to hear about a few?
I would love to hear about a few.
Well, one thing that happened to me a lot is, and I'm talking several times a week, was that when I was asleep, I was flying and it was so beautiful. And I'd be flying very high up and I'd look down and I'd see the trees and rivers. And sometimes I'd go over mountains and sometimes I'd go over cities. And it was so beautiful. I loved to fly. And there was no machine attached to me. I was just flying and I loved it so much. And everything was in full color. And I was very conscious and aware. So I guess you would now call that lucid dreaming. And I didn't think anything of it. Then later, when I was in elementary school, like later in elementary school, like grade 6 or something like that, they used to, this is back in the olden days because I'm old. They used to reel in the old projector and show us documentary films. And I saw a film and it was aerial photography. And suddenly I went, oh my God, because I had no way, I'd never flown in an airplane. I had never been in a hot air balloon. I had never been high above. How did I know what it was like to fly high above everything? And it wasn't until I saw a documentary in school that I went, "Oh my God, I wonder if I really can fly." At that point, I believed that I really could fly. And when I would fly, I wasn't always up really high. Sometimes I'd come down low and I'd feel the grass tickle my legs as I brushed across. I'd like to go low or I'd like to go very high and and that was something really beautiful because my life again was not very good. My mother remarried and the stepfather was cruel and very cruel and had no love for us at all. And my mother was just so distracted. She and my stepdad wanted to become millionaires, and so everything was about putting on a false front and pretending we were higher economically than what we were, and it was stupid. I mean, I always recognized it as being stupid, and a waste of time. And so what I would do is I would go off in my imagination. So I actually believe now that our imaginations are portals. They're portals to other dimensional realities. But we've been brainwashed and programmed to think, oh, that's just your imagination. That's nothing. We're told that fiction is fake and nonfiction is real. And if you ask me, it's kind of the other way around, because we live in a construct, right?
That's what it would be like in the upside down. Everything's
Yeah.
inverted. right? Everything
Yeah.
they tell you is the opposite. So
Mhm.
you remember being fractured as a child.
Yeah, and I also had, kind of 2 lives. When I was in my, I'm gonna call it transdimensional. When I was in my transdimensional reality, I didn't ever think about my three-dimensional reality. And when I was in my three-dimensional reality, I didn't think about my transdimensional reality. They were very, very much separated. And I just kept getting told by adults and by my parents that don't talk like that. People are going to think you're crazy. It's not real. You've got an overactive imagination, and so I learned to suppress it. But now I'm old and I don't give a shit what people think. And so I put it all in my book, which is coming out soon.
That's amazing. I remember being fractured. I'm in the Bronx in New York, so it was really brutal as a kid. I was like the new kid on the block, and then I got beat up a few times, and I was such a my imagination was up front at all times. It was the greatest thing. I remember when I fractured, and I would go in the house, and then as I would go in, it was like I was peeling off an energetic layer, and I'd go sit with my action figures, put cartoons on, and then I would play out events with the action figures on, and I was there with them. I left
Mhm,
everything and went into this mode, and it was overactive imagination, but it's actually the fuel to the whole thing. The more
mhm.
imagination you have, the more it works. In the comic books, it's Green Lantern. He has his willpower and he could
Yes,
build anything with
yes.
the ring. So it's your imagination is the limit. So if you could imagine you're strong enough, you'll be strong enough and you'll
Mhm,
get pushed to your limits and you'll get tested on a lot of things. But the more you do and the more imagination you have, the more it fuels your ability to get things done inside the
mhm,
space that we're here sharing. That's
mhm.
amazing. That's amazing. Um, childhood trauma. Now, well, you're coaching now, so you have to have clients like revisit knowing that the fractures take place as children.
Well, I have my own approach that's a little offbeat, and I did this first, for myself, and I may have already told you about it, Frank, I'm not sure. But, as an adult, a mature adult, I went back to, school, and I went because 'cause I'd always been told I was stupid, and then I found out I wasn't stupid, and I actually, qualified for scholarship money to go back to school. So I
That's
went to
great.
university and I took a lot of psychology courses because I've always trying to figure out what the hell is going on in this world and in society and stuff. So I took a lot of sociology and a lot of psychology. And I came across a study that was done that said that we constantly embellish and change our memories without even meaning to. So, for instance, if I want to go back and look at a traumatic event in my life, every time I take it out and look at it, I'm corrupting it. I'm changing it. I'm embellishing it. I'm adding emotion to it. Then I put it away. And the next time I take it out, I change it again. And so, most of us, even though bad things happened to us, no doubt should not happen, but even though that happens, we end up making it sometimes a lot worse every time we take a look at it. So I decided to do an experiment. And what I did is I had a very poor relationship with my mom. I'm not trying to play the victim role here. I'm just telling you like it is, and like it is for a lot of people. Our parents are fucked up, most of us, and to one degree or another. And so my mother didn't value me. Well, at least she never showed me that she valued me. She never told me she loved me. She had no affection for me. She basically had nothing but orders to go do this or go do that. And that was all I got from my mom. And it really bothered me. And I knew it was holding me back. So I decided to create through my imagination a false memory. And so I made it up. It was absolute bullshit. I made it all up. None of it was real. but I had the vision, or in my imagination, I created the memory, the false memory, that when I came home after school, my mom was so happy to see me, and she'd make tea, and we'd sit and have tea together, and she'd want to hear all about my day, and she'd give me, it's so gonna make me cry because it's just so profound. And she would give me eye contact and she would look at me, and I knew my mom loved me and cared about me and wanted to hear about my day. And if I'd had a bad day and I came home after school, she'd get out the good tea set, and she'd have some nice biscuits or cookies for us to share, and it was just so special and so wonderful, and it made me feel so good, and it really changed the way I felt about my mom. And I never told anybody about it, never. It was my secret thing, and I worked on it over time, and it just made me feel so good, and I didn't care if it was bullshit, it was mine, and I was keeping it. Well, about 6 months later, I go to visit my mom. Sorry, this is gonna make me emotional. I go to visit my mom, and we're just having a chat, and she turns to me right out of the blue, and she looks at me and she says, "Karen, do you remember the tea parties we used to have after school?" Somehow, somehow my mother remembered my corrupted memory. How did she have that memory? I never told her. I never told anybody, Frank. I never told anybody. And she remembered. And I went, "Oh my God, we are the most powerful creatures on this planet if we can change the past and we can change our psychology." So I use that method when I'm coaching other people. It doesn't matter what happened, how horrible it was, whatever. You can talk about it if you need to, but let's create a new memory and insert it and adopt it and live your life as though is what's real. And it just helped me so much. And a lot of other people have said that it's helped them so much too. Sorry for getting emotional,
No,
but
that's
it's just so
amazing.
huge.
Wow. So I have my hair on the back of my neck is standing up right now. So do you believe perhaps that the memory is so potent that it kind of engulfs people? Do you think it's created perhaps in a timeline where it exists and then you just magnetically pull that in?
Yep,
Like,
absolutely.
is that, do you think that's what we're doing? Because I kind of feel like
Yeah.
we go to the place where that exists and we bring it right to us.
Yes, I think we live in a multiverse. I think there are many timelines, and I shifted my timeline through the power of my imagination. That's what I believe, because otherwise it doesn't make sense how it could work.
Right. But in what we've learned at this point, it makes sense with what we know now.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
power.
It's like there's a whole bunch of us everywhere, and then we can, like, for instance, when we want to manifest a better housing for ourselves, which I have done, um, I'm moving myself into a different timeline. I don't know exactly how it works. I'm not a physicist, but I know that, like, for instance, more recently in the last 5 years, I moved myself into what I would call my dream home. I never knew I could have such a great house. Like, it's not huge, it's pretty ordinary, but it's got everything I wanted: fenced yard, quiet neighborhood, lots of room, everything I need. Um, and then I asked myself once I got here, I went, "Why didn't I want this before? Why didn't I get this before?" It was because I didn't think I was worthy. I honestly, I thought I had to live in high population dense cities, and I didn't realize I could have this. And I can. We all can. And that's why it's so important to tell people about what's possible. I'm not bragging. I'm trying to tell people you can have this too.
Right, right. When I was younger, growing up in the Bronx, it always felt like the Bronx was the limit, right? So it was like, oh, we grew up here, we did it. Everybody else was less for some reason. Even though we were all crammed in, there was 12 people in the house. Everybody was going crazy all the time. It was just nonstop. And then I would make fun of the people who went 45 minutes north and just lived a normal life. Like, it's quiet. You don't have people beating on your door all day. There's no kids screaming through the streets,
Yeah.
all the things that go with that. Now, my wife and I take a drive, and it takes about an hour before you get your first breath of fresh air coming out of this giant clogged artery, right? And then when you get there, it is the most freeing thing. And I'm like, this is what they were all talking about,
Mhm.
breaking away and having that. Oh, maybe it's just that we had to compile a life and have these experiences to know all the things we didn't want to
Yeah,
get to a
maybe.
place. So it's not failing. It's like just realizing what you don't want and then
Yeah,
to get to where you do want.
yeah.
Right. So then you can make that list. You can determine, be like, look, I want a yard. It doesn't have to be big. I just gotta have some grass. So my cat can run
Mhm.
around and have grass. Right. And we start to
Mhm.
manifest this forward. I did that with music recently. I've been manifesting a song. I kept hearing in my head. It was in a dream. And all these crazy things happened in the dream. But all I remembered was the hook in my head. And I said, I'm bringing that forth. And I brought it forth. When my partner heard it, he was like, oh my, we got to change the sound back to this real quick. So we all started rolling again. And I'm like, wow, we're gonna manifest this song. We're gonna manifest this life. You're gonna manifest what you're doing. You just did it. Now I'm gonna do it again. Right. It becomes, it's like your awareness to it allows more of it to occur.
Mhm. Mhm. And it's fun.
How long does your coaching, like, do you do like class by class, like a certain topic each week, or do you have video topics that people can follow along? Do you do in person?
Um Basically, when someone contacts me and they want some support, I just arrange an appointment time with them and show up and give them the support. I don't plan a lot. I'm very intuitive the way I work, but I also want to say that there is part of me I infuse into every podcast I do, every show I do. There's gems that people can glean. I just started doing podcasts in 2020. It's interesting. Those were really tough times for a lot of us, but it's interesting to see the work we got done during that hard time. Instead of falling apart, we made something important happen. And so that's when the podcast started, but I actually started making videos quite a bit before that. So I've got everything laid out in playlists on Rumble or Odyssey or YouTube. And of course, I have a free resources tab on my website that people can see. I have all kinds of stuff. I've got a free online course. It's very in depth. It's called The 9 Steps to Quantum Health Transformation. I received that information in a download. Took me nearly 2 years to organize it and put it into a free program. And it was very clear. My guides let me know that I wasn't supposed to charge for it. It was supposed to be free to everybody. It's not copyrighted. People can um, download it, share it, whatever, use it with their programs. It doesn't matter. It's about the great what's best for the greater good. I do sell PDF copies. They're only $3.99 Canadian, which is like probably less than $3 each American. And and then with those, people can actually make copies and give them to other people. They can translate them into other languages. So there's that. And so I do offer coaching, but a tremendous amount of my information is available for free. So those playlists are not just on social media, they're also on my website. So people can look up what they're interested in, if it's about physical health, if it's about mental health, if it's about spiritual evolution. And I don't have one way of doing anything. Everything is fine-tuned for the person who is doing the seeking. They know within themselves what they need to eat, what they need to do, how they need to think, what their politics needs to be. That's not for me to tell them. I'm just there to give them support and offer validation that what they're experiencing is not madness. They're not insane. They're not crazy, that it's valid. and they have a right to express that in their own world any way they want.
That's awesome. And I suggest, because it's free, taking advantage of it. People think because stuff is free, well, it can't be that good. It can't be that great. When I was first starting um, ayahuasca, like doing it myself, no one would drink with me. I was I would have given it away by the gallon, right? When you could have did hundreds of experiences. If I had two people the whole time, and one of them being my wife, just kind of moseying along with me to see what's going on. The minute I turned it into like a bit of a service and it hit a certain price, people were like, "Oh, I want it. Oh, it's that much. I'm going to have to save for this." Like it became an event, which it should have been originally.
Yeah,
So I suggest anyone listening, right? This is high frequency vibrational material. You can take it in, take what you don't like out of it, keep what you do, and
yeah,
add it to the
yeah,
conversation. Now you know how to
yeah,
talk. Now you have a idea which direction to go in life, right?
yeah,
Some days I don't know whether I'm going up or down, right? If I can have some information that would put things in a perspective a little bit, knowing what's happening in this world, I'd be
yeah.
grateful, right?
Can I give
So
you a little overview of the program, the free
I would
program, just
love
so
if you
folks
did.
know? Okay, well, it's 9 steps, and, the first s and it's counterintuitive because you start with step 9 and you work your way down to step 1. Think of it as a countdown. And so step 9 teaches you all about quantum physics and about how to do, well, a method on how to do shadow work, and how, when we see things from a broader perspective, I use a tool, I call it the nubby ball tool. I don't know if you can see this or not. Well, I'm sure you can see it's a sphere with nubs on it. And I use that tool to teach you how to get past black and white thinking so that we can see things in very complex terms. So sometimes we do the wrong thing for the right reason, sometimes we do the right thing for the wrong reason. It's important to take a look at the whole, and then we're not so quick to scapegoat and target other people. We can become more loving and forgiving beings, and especially to ourselves. And that's why it also includes shadow work. Then step 8 talks about all kinds of technologies that you may not even think are technologies. Things like positive affirmations, visualization, grounding, all kinds of things that we've heard over and over and over again, but we've never thought of it as being an energetic tool or as energetic tools that we can use in our lives. And step 7 is similar to step 9, but instead of shadow light work, we do male female work, because the left side of your body is governed by female energy and the right side of your body is governed by your male energy. One half of our brain is what we call male, more logical, and the other side is our female or more intuitive. And we need to bring those together and have them work together. And I also get into a very, very brief um, 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 basically description on what the whole transgender phenomena is really about from a biochemical, biological perspective and a sociological perspective, but I do not get into gender politics at all. And then that's the first 3 um, steps, which are basically help you to open your mind so that you can become more whole beings and get a bigger grasp on reality. And then the middle 3 steps are all about how to detoxify. So it's about how to detoxify your external self, how to recognize what things we're using, maybe personal care products or cleaning products, they're toxic. And these things are shutting us down spiritually, mentally, and physically, and making us unwell so that we're more apt to have to go to the doctor and rely on pharmaceuticals. And then I also talk about internal detoxification, which is all about food. What is real food? What is toxic? What will heal your body? And then I get into emotional detoxification, how to make all of your emotions work for you. And finally, how to detoxify from the construct, how to realize that we're living in a system that does not have our best interests at heart, and how to look at things differently. And then there's the final three steps, which are more spiritual. So, first, you kind of got to open your mind. Then you need to detoxify. Now you're ready to start getting involved in higher spirituality. And I teach people an advanced method, which I use myself, um, of what you call the law of attraction, how to build your soul team. And it's completely up to you. Like, we're all different. We all have a different way of looking at a soul team and who we want on our soul team. And finally, the step one, which you do last, is all about how to change reality by practicing virtues. Like, for instance, patience. Patience doesn't just come to you. You got to practice that thing all the time. And it's hard. It's hard work. But when we start exercising patience with ourselves and other people, our world starts to change. And we realize that these virtues actually are like portals, talk about shifting timelines, take us into other realities where life is damn good. And so that's the program. And yeah, 9 steps.
So I want to talk about detoxifying a second, because this is very important. Everybody has heavy metals, parasites. They need to detoxify from the preservatives and the products, the
Yep.
Wi-Fi's and everything.
Yep.
But when I tell people, listen to me, when you go inside and you realize the parasite is attached to the metals, right? I'm
Mhm.
a root of the problem guy. I'm like, that's attaching to the metals. Now let's blow up the image of the parasite. What does that look like? Well, that looks like a
Demons.
demon.
Yep.
Okay, so I believe, and from what I've learned, um, that parasites are little demons, and when they infest your body, it's all multiple little consciousnesses, because
Yep.
demonic physical presence in this part of the space that we share in the experience can only get in if you let them in, or through their own biologics, which is so small, they're insignificant as one. But as many, they are legion. And what is the demon always say when he comes forth out of a person? We are legion, we are many, because you're loaded with parasites, right? So,
Yeah.
like for me, I've done like an ivermectin thing where I've just killed it all, and then charcoal and different things to pull
Mhm.
everything out. So you can't just kill it. You got to kill it. You got to pull it out. You got to have it scraped out and scrubbed out. Now, this was my point. Like, people come to me and they want the spiritual clean out. And I go, you got to clean you to have
Mhm.
that. So Aya can do so much for you. But if you choose to like eat all the wrong things up until the day you do it, it's not going to be anyone's fault but your own when you don't really get that effect you're looking for, because you're
Mhm.
not putting forth the effort and energy. And because you're not, it doesn't occur the way it's supposed to. But when you put your intention towards it as a creator being, you can start to just get the process going at any time and then just get it done, get it out. And then you begin to experience a different base layer reality. I'm
Mhm.
sharper minded, I'm quicker witted, I'm move better in my space, right? When you
You
stretch
you
and do a
think
little bit of yoga.
you also think of opportunities that you never saw before, and they're obvious. You go, "Why
Yeah.
didn't I do that before? Why didn't
And
I?" You know?
you've been surrounded by the signs and the symbols the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, you'll get an idea out of something that's been here the whole time, and you're like, well, I've been staring at that for 3 years. It's like, and for 3 years, it's been saying the same thing. You just haven't been listening. But when you
Mhm.
clear it out, you start to listen, right? It's not just meditation. Like, you got to go to the root cause of all the problems, fix them, then get back on track. And then when you start to get to like, number one in your course, where you're like learning patience, you're finding that it's a portal to this higher plane, right? Like, I thought I knew love, then met my wife. 10 years we're together. Now I say, I mean, every single day, that room with the love in it gets bigger and bigger and bigger because we don't lie, we don't cheat, we don't steal, we don't take none of those negative things and add them to our lives. They surround us, but we come in with team effort, right? So you can
Mhm.
have the trust and security and the openness. It takes time, effort, and energy to build those scenarios with people, right? And people
It does,
desperately
and it
want
takes
their person, right?
right. And it takes time to develop trust, when you're working with other people too. I also want to tell you something funny that happened to me is I realized that I had to get off of sugar and sweeteners completely off. I was addicted, and I get addicted super easy. And next thing you know, I can't. One is too many, and a hundred's never enough. And it was really affecting my health. And, about a year after I had quit, using sugar, which, by the way, was no small feat, but when I had stopped using any kind of sweetener for about a year, I started having all these dreams of cupcakes and pastries and stuff, and I didn't realize it, and then I saw, a sort of a documentary, a video on YouTube that apparently you get all these different kinds of critters that live in your intestines and in your digestive system, and they will make you crave things that aren't good for you because they want to get fed. And it takes quite a long time, like over a year, for them all to die off. So I've been starving off these critters that don't have my best interests at heart, but they have been trying to get me through cravings. And even my conscious awareness, they've been able to direct that to try to get them what they want. So it's like this huge colony that together, like you said, legion is many, that has a powerful influence, making us say and do and be things that are not our choice. And it's scary, but at the same time, um, you do the best you can one day at a time, right? You strip off the layers. But I've been starving those little bastards now for a year and a half, almost 2 years. Every once in a while, though, I can tell they're still there, and they affect us, and they
It's
affect our
nonstop in our environment.
motivations.
We're breathing it
Pardon?
in, it's in the environment. So you're
Yeah,
breathing them in if you have a cat or dog or any animal, everything. A blade of grass has heavy metals now all over it, and aluminums and toxins and this
yeah,
and that. So it's like even smelling the roses today creates the problem. However, you cannot house yourself and just lock yourself in. You still have to be part of everything. So if you make it lifestyle change, it begins to
yes,
work. Right now,
yes,
I want to pull this because if you do the stuff, some of the stuff we're talking about, heavy metal detox, or you get rid of your parasites, things begin to change, but so much so that realities we didn't even think existed around us, things that are happening right there, right out of our light, that our eyes pick up, is happening right there. And there are things like um, UFOs, ships,
yeah.
ETs, angels, demons, right? Because you get rid of the demons, now the angels get to speak if you're listening, right?
Mhm.
And I know you've had an angelic experience, or maybe quite a few.
Well, actually, only one angelic experience, and it was before I had any ET experiences. And I'll just quickly tell you, I might have to come back and do another show with you because there's a lot where we're skipping over because there's just so much to say. But basically, what happened was I was at a very low point in my life. My ex-husband had remarried, and he convinced me that he needed a chance to raise our children because they had been living with me up till that point. And so I thought, well, it would be wrong for me to keep them from their father. I need to give him a chance. So he took the kids to go live with him. And then he denied me access to them. And it broke my heart because my children are and were my world. And I got really depressed and really anxious, and I felt really terrible. And at the same time, my economic situation was terrible. And I ended moving into this old house, small house. And I started getting the urge to off myself. and in a very specific way that I never would have thought of on my own. And I just was compelled to kill myself. And all of a sudden, I decided I was going to do it. But it was the night before I was going to do it. And I had this angelic experience. Now, I just want to quickly say that later on, I met a woman who we sort of became acquaintances. She asked me where I lived, and I told her, and she says, "Oh my God, do you know what happened in that house?" She was friends with this guy's mother, and this guy had killed himself in the house exactly the way that I was feeling that I wanted to do it. So, what I think happened was my frequency or my vibrational state got really low because I was in such a deep state of grieving and hopelessness. And somehow I connected into the energy or the vibration pattern of the man who had killed himself in the house. So, this was a really real thing. So anyway, it was that night and I wasn't sleeping. I was crying a lot and just I didn't want to kill myself, but I just didn't see any way that I could cope with the pain and I didn't think I'd ever see my kids again and it was horrible. And all of a sudden, I saw I was awake. I wasn't under the influence of anything. I just all of a sudden what materialized in front of my eyes was like 1,000 points of light. And each point, the light was flashing out the sides, giving each point the illusion of wings. And so I thought it was some kind of an angelic encounter. But then these points of light started to speak to me, and each one spoke at the same time, saying the same thing. And it was like 1,000 voices, all speaking in perfect unison and harmony to form one voice that spoke to me. And so that's why sometimes I refer to the experience as angels and sometimes as angel, because it was very much um, all kind of one thing, and yet also could have been interpreted as many. Anyway, the being or beings said to me, "Karen, why do you want to leave this world?" And I said, "Because I'm miserable. I can't take the pain. I don't know what to do. My life up to this point has been, well, uneventful and sometimes disastrous at worst and uneventful at best. And I just want the pain to stop and I want out. I don't believe that I'm here just to suffer. That I don't believe that could possibly be my purpose." And so the being said to me, "Karen, there are exit points that humans can take when things get too painful, and you have a right to take one of those exit points. But if you decide to stay, we will give you a helper." Sorry, I'm getting emotional again. And I said, "What kind of helper?" And they said, "Well, that's up to you to decide. Only you know what you need." And I said, "Well, can I think about it?" And they said, "Of course. And when you're ready, all you have to do is say it out loud or think it to yourself, and we will know and we will give you that gift." And I went, "Oh my God. Oh my God." And shortly after that, I fell asleep. And the next day, I didn't kill myself. Instead, I went for a walk. I started going for long walks every day for maybe 4 or 5 days, thinking, "What do I want? What do I want?" Because it was an absolutely real thing that this what I call angelic contact was an absolutely real thing. I was not imagining it. I was not crazy. And so I started thinking about all the things I might want or need. And I thought, well, if I had a lot of money, that would sure fix a lot of problems. I could hire a good lawyer. I could give my kids a good home. That would help. But I went, nope, nope, that's not it. I knew that wasn't it. And then I thought, well, if I was really famous, maybe that would help and people would like me and want to help me. And maybe that would be a good thing. And I went, nope, nope, that's not it either. And then I thought, well, maybe if I was really beautiful and really healthy and smart, I could think of everything I needed. Maybe that's what I need. And I went, nope, nope, that's not what I need. I just knew it. So I thought I had to keep thinking. And finally, I realized what I needed was wisdom. because if I had wisdom, I would know what to do and I could make a good life for myself and I could be a blessing to humankind. And that's what I really wanted.
We gain that wisdom
And
through experience.
and I said, I'd like wisdom. And the funny part about this, Frank, is then I was asked, Karen, do you want the quick method or the slow method? And it didn't occur to me what they were asking me. And I quickly said, oh, I want the quick method, because I thought they were just going to pour this wisdom into me and I'd be wise and everything would be groovy. No, 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 that's not what it meant. What it meant was the slow method was going to be a little gentler road to gaining wisdom, and the quick method would be very fucking intense. And I had asked for the quick method. So then my life started to change very, very quickly. 6 months later, I had my kids back, but then I had all kinds of other challenges and opportunities, and just things just kept coming so fast. And I kept laughing, even though it was, challenging, because I knew I had asked for the quick method. I had asked for it and they gave it to me. So I had all the kinds of experiences I needed to become wise. And I'm not the wisest person in the world, but I'm pretty wise when it comes to knowing how to take care of me, how to be a good person, what to do. Like, it came to me and I got exactly what I asked for. And I never saw them or heard from them again, but I always know that they're part of my soul team, that and I can't shake them. People don't realize angels are with us always. We don't have to do anything to deserve them. They're there. And every part of our life is sacred. And there's nothing we can do that can make these beings leave us. They're always there. They will always stand by us. We can count on that. And so that's another thing I like to tell people, is so that they know they're worthy and that these beings are there. And the only thing we have to do is ask, because they have a kind of a non-interference thing. They kind of wait. And then when we really need their help and we say, please help me, you get the help. I mean, I'm nobody special. And if it works for me, it's going to work for everybody else.
See, the thing is, you're humble, but you are special, just like everyone else is special, right? Everyone has this. I regard myself and others like that are awakening up. I'm source. You are special. You are worthy every day. The gods can fight. The people can protest. The things can happen on the chessboard, but I'm the whole thing. So it's a little different. It pulls me back and allows me to observe it and not get so involved with that minutia that drives us all insane.
Mhm.
Right? I pull back and make it simple, which is where it gets really hard, because then when you're at simple, you're like, well, just love a little more. Love yourself a little more. And it's like, I can't love myself more. Look how much I'm loving myself. It's like, obviously, you need more love. Right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't believe in angels and used to, okay, so I used to go, there's no such thing. I grew up Catholic. Sister Stabile would whip my ass right now. She'd come back, Josephine Stabile, with the bell, ding, 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 and just hit me with it. What do you mean Jesus isn't real? I went through this whole thing and then drank ayahuasca. I was in this house in the basement. Um, Mother Aya came to me and said she was my size. She was a beautiful woman. She like fit walking with me perfect through the basement. She took my arm, brought me upstairs out the back, and she's like, somebody wants to talk to you. They want to meet you. And an angel just came right through the little overhang roof and stood right next to me. He was glowing and he had the wings and everything. They were like points of light, like you were saying, but they collapsed in so he could just be like a guy shape.
Mhm.
And he looked at me and I said, oh, what's this? Energy man? Right? And they were like, no, it's an angel. And I'm like, yeah, there's no such thing. Who sent you? Your God, not my God, your God. And he was like, you sent me. And I say he because it was a him voice. And then he's like, tells Aya, oh, he doesn't remember anything. And I'm like, well, I saw the machine, and inside the machine with the fake mock angels and the fake archangels and the AI incorporating everything in a trickery. I saw all that. So you're part of that. They were like, no, there's a whole thing that exists outside of the matrix that you're trapped in.
Mhm.
You're talking about inside here where things can infect and infiltrate. Out here, that doesn't happen. And I said, I don't know, man. Take my hand, like my arm. I grabbed his arm, boom. I instantly remembered the whole thing. So they are there the whole time. He was there the
Mhm.
whole time. This one specifically was like, I came and got you right when you said, if I'm not awake, you have to be there. Meet me at this date and this time. This was all done beforehand and then showed it to me. He didn't just tell it to me. Like I went back and witnessed this just in the touch. So I tell people all the time, they're there. So the message comes through sometimes as unalive yourself. You're not worthy. You're a piece of trash. Your mind doesn't naturally talk like that. Your mind is
Mhm.
programmed, and then something might actually be speaking to you because we're in the duality. So you got the angel and the devil. But are you listening to begin with? You're just trying to maybe shut this out, and maybe you hear certain things over and over and over again. You don't realize that it's these characters. But once certain vibrations are met and frequencies are met, these things fall away. But now the voices get potent and powerful. Are you listening? Are you paying attention? I notice angels like it when you ask for them out loud.
Mhm.
I need some angels. Angels, come in, join the conversations right now. Like you got to get over the fear of it and experience it. And through the experience, you're going to gain wisdom, right? And
Mhm.
anytime I've asked for the fast route, I get hit with a tidal wave.
Yeah, you get what
Like
you
like
asked for
yeah,
sure.
like, "You don't live here no more, time to move." Alright, all the cats are gone, you gotta go find them. But there's 12 of them, and we're in the Bronx, how are you gonna that's impossible. Well, have fun. You said you want to change, here it goes. You wanna learn?
Mhm.
We're gonna teach you. The universe, that's the universe listening to you. You're the creator. You're in charge of the whole thing, and as you start believing correctly, as you start meeting the steps, um, you realize that you can make the whole thing work for you. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like we're all here for you, the angels and the construct and the animals and everybody that walks in the room and every moment that you're here to experience. You're bringing that all to yourself. So when you're clean in here and clean in here, do you believe it reflects outward and pulls that in for you to witness and be part of?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And the other part of it is when we start to see it, um outside of the constructor as it really is. It's so beautiful and it's so intense. Oh my god, like, you can become very emotional for a while you adjust to it because and you don't wanna be around other people who sit around and all they wanna talk about is getting drunk or their china pattern or, like, it's just all to create stupid talk, you know? You just don't wanna be around it because 'cause you've had this intense, exposure, and, that then ever since, actually I had my angel experience, I have gravitated slowly to spending more time alone or with my cats because I need the time to, um it's annoying for me to have my train of thought constantly interrupted by things that don't matter to me, aren't real to me, you know? Um, what's real to me and what's important to me. I like to stay focused and I like to be diligent and let's face it, just looking after your body is a big job trying to, I like to go out for long walks for exercise. I'm not much for going to the gym. I'd rather be out and looking at the trees and being in touch with the seasons and getting to know the birds and the neighbors' cats and all that, and eating properly, planning what am I going to eat today, what am I going to eat tomorrow, looking after my body, occasionally doing some housework because I find the more I am elevated spiritually, the more I want to keep my environment clean and tidy, and pull out the vacuum more often and do a bit more dusting. And then there's technology that we have. I'm grateful for it, but I spend probably too much time in screen time. But
Don't
that's
we all?
where but that's where I'm writing my book, and I've been tasking AI to help me with the graphics because I'm going to have some images in my book. And um, I like to keep I like to keep on top of, without getting too involved in, I like to keep on top of American politics and Canadian politics, and to see where we're headed and where we're going. And oh my, I gotta just quickly tell you, I don't want to get too political here, but I was quite surprised with the election results. Of course, pleased. I'm not trying to take a side. I'm just saying that now, instead of the same old piles of horse shit, we got at least people that are coming together from all different walks of life and different political tributaries coming together that are saying, let's do something different. Let's do an experiment here and see how much we can change things for the better. And they seem to care about humanity, which is so lovely. And
I mean,
so,
did you
that,
we spoke about this a little before, right before we started. You felt the timeline shift that
yeah,
next morning, right? I woke up,
yeah,
I was like, I feel light. And I've been in a good mood ever since. And I'm not
yeah.
political. I'm aware, I'm ahead of the curve with it. I understand what's going on, but I'm over here observing. But I felt
Yeah, no,
the whole thing
there
change.
is a shift. A shift has definitely happened, and you can really tell because there's so many people, and I'm not judging them, but they're like rats trying to get off the ship and don't know what they're doing. And so many people are freaking out, and I'm going, I am calm and I am happy, and I got my hopefulness back,
I
that
woke up
we can do
feeling
this.
creative, wanting to engage at a higher level because
Yeah.
we're constantly being shut down, targeted. It's like nonstop. So it's still there. However, little at a time, that is going to click back the other direction. So as we are the media now, we're the
Yes.
interesting thing on. I mean, the Ascension's the greatest topic. You are the greatest topic nobody's speaking about, right?
Hmm.
That everyone knows something is happening, right? And that's all of us.
And our voices are gonna be protected. And,
Yes.
that is wonderful because we got a lot to say, and we're tired of, trying to dummy ourselves down and use words that don't really say what we wanna say, but if we don't, the algorithm will, get rid of our shows or whatever, and that's bullshit too, and thank God that's coming, hopefully, to an end. So that's exciting,
Yeah, the
very
censorship
exciting.
has to go 100% because that's
Yeah.
what we're here smashing. Everybody always asks me these weird questions that like live around me and they always see me. And I'm like, I'm here to smash a system. I'm here to integrate the higher frequencies into this area so that that stuff that you keep fighting over just collapses. So
Mhm.
when you're like, bro, left or right, Jets or Giants, I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's all got to go. It's got to be
Mhm.
recategorized and refigured out. And then this other stuff over here has just got to go. 100% got to go. Bye. You're a
Mhm.
detriment to everything in the society on the world stage, on the independent scale. You got to go. Sorry. And that we know
Mhm.
exactly who I'm talking about across the board. So now we get to watch
Mhm.
them wiggle and squirm, which is fantastic. And now here's the hard part, right? So we're the graduating class. Well, listen, you guys got to show a little love because the unawakened are still you guys. Just you got to think like the eighth graders aren't going to have the same perspective as the first, second, and third graders, right? They're not
Mhm.
going to have any of the perspectives as a lot of those guys. And we're the graduating class, so we know better, right? So it's like, remember, don't fight with no one on the way out. Don't start no shit. There won't be none, right? Send love
Mhm.
at the whole thing. Let them figure it out.
Yeah,
Your job
give
is
them a
to figure it.
chance. give them a chance to figure it out for themselves, because it's like if you look at our children, if we do everything for them, they don't learn anything. They kind of have to stumble and fall and pick themselves up just like we had to do, and they'll get it eventually. And ever since 2020, uh, all these terrible things that have been happening have been the best thing that could have happened for waking everybody up and seeing what's going on. And in the last 6 months, we've really seen how the legacy media are all liars and drama kings and queens.
Yeah,
And
that's your enemy right there.
that, yeah, and it's so obvious. So now I don't believe anything they have to say, and they got nothing for me, and I won't give them any of my
Yeah, you
energy.
get no
But now
energy
you
and you
and
get
me,
nothing. Yes.
we're coming to the fore, and we're going to share our truth. And then if people don't want to listen, they don't have to. They can take what
Listen, the
serves them. And
personal interest stories are more important and more interesting than anything you're going to learn from anything called legacy media, period. Right?
mhm,
Like, just like with our shows, you're going to meet people that are just, I'm sorry, they're more interesting than everything else, period. Why? Because they did the work, or they're doing, well, you're never not doing the work, but we're putting in the time, effort, and energy to become the example so you can hear the story, read the
mhm,
story, listen to the story, get into the frequency, feel the vibration kind of, and work your way away from that system that is broken and degraded and lies, cheats, and steals into people that care, that see the beauty, that are here to create, that have answers to questions. They have answers. Like, people don't want to, they don't like some of the answers, but the answers are there. All the things I didn't know. And man, I got all the answers. I got to sit in on it and was like, oh, that's the reality of it, huh? They're like, oh, yeah, you asked for the responsibility. Now, with great power comes great responsibility. And I'm like, I get it. I get it. But it's making everything more beautiful. The better, I tell my wife this, because she loves what I've become in this world. And it was very hard the first few years. Right. And she's like, but you did it. I watched you want to do it. And I'm like, well, the proof is in the pudding. I'm watching you and it's working for you. Why can't it
mhm.
work for me? My whole life it didn't work. See, I'm ready to complain right away. 40 years I was here. 40 years, nothing worked. I turned 50, everything's working. What's going on? Right. So I'm learning, shut your mouth. You want to be here. This is what it's required of you to keep your house clean. You want to be parasite free. This is what you got to do. You want to understand something, get to learn it, experience it so you can talk about it. Right? Like, I try not to over talk about a conversation if I don't really know the topic. So I'm kind of boring on a lot of shows that are like sports. I'm like, I don't know
Mhm.
anything anymore, but I can tell you how to come into this dimension.
Yes.
Right? But now's that time
Mhm.
for that information. In our whole lives, we've been starving for information in a world that's become full of information, but that information has been full of shit for too long.
Yep. Yep.
Right? Cleaning up.
I got a metaphor. It's like, I don't know if you've ever been to a house party and they always invite too many people. People are sitting on the stairs, people are sitting everywhere, and you can't really hear what people are saying because everybody's trying to talk louder because nobody can hear each other. And it's just kind of crazy making. And then you go out in the back porch and there's a few people out there having a smoke, either, smoking a joint or smoking a cigarette, whatever. And you notice it's quiet and it's cool and you can breathe and you see the stars and it's just so lovely. And you go, oh my God, I'm just gonna do the rest of the party out here. I'm not going back in there. And that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it's like. That's what it's like now
It's the
for
breath of
us.
fresh air, right? It's just,
Hmm.
even if you're having a smoke, it's like a breath of fresh air. Everywhere you experience it. It's not just, it's everywhere. It's potent, it's powerful, it's worth it. And you were
Hmm.
talking before, like, being alone. Integration is key in this whole thing. Imagination fuels the whole thing. Integration with the whole thing inside of you is key, because you're a computer, right? That's not been defragged and then upgraded to like the new operating system just yet, right? Because the evolution has been kind of halted, not stopped, but gone very slow. And now it's speeding up. So you wanting to be alone some days is the cocoon, right?
Mm.
We use the butterfly. And the days where you just wake up and you're like, yay, I just want to sing, run around the yard, kiss my cat. I want to play music. I don't want to hear nobody's shit. I don't care about politics. I'm here.
Mhm.
I made it.
Mhm.
Ah, like you just that's you coming in and out of the cocoon, but it's not a one-time deal. You shed skin, you're in the cocoon, you're out of the cocoon. I turned to goo today. Tomorrow I'm halfway formed, I'm almost out of it, I'm breaking free
Mm.
of it, and then the cycle starts again
Yeah.
until we reach where we're supposed to be in our evolutionary cycle. That's crazy.
Mhm.
It's crazy awesome though, because it
Mhm.
explains everything that's been happening to us. This has just been happening. It's been happening to everyone in one way or another. Right? So the stories that we provide and set forth and present to you, hopefully it resonates and you can take what resonates with you and release everything else. You don't need it, just like you don't need to carry 50-pound backpack full of rocks up a mountain. Take the backpack off, just walk up the mountain. You have everything you need. You are everything you need. Um, Karen, before we close out today, is there anything you'd like to tell everyone as like a closing statement until our next time we gather?
Um, yes and no. I'd like people to trust their experience and not look to external sources to interpret our experiences and then tell us what it means or how we should feel about it or whether we're crazy or whether we're not. I would like people to trust inside themselves. You know, if they get an intuitive hit, if they hear a voice, if they have a dream that's vivid, all of those things are our connection to our birthright, um, in basically interdimensional realities. And the construct that we've been told is the only thing that's real, that's so far from real. And all this other stuff that we've been labeled as whatever, kooks or crazy or whatever, that is the stuff that really, really helps. So I just would advise people to listen, listen to themselves, learn to listen to their peripheral thoughts. So just like you have peripheral vision, that you can be aware of if you want to. You have peripheral thoughts and imagery that you can also start paying attention to and start trusting that, start trusting yourself. And don't be afraid to ask for help. And I know everyone feels foolish in the beginning, going, hey, I could use some help down here, or I could use, a little bit of financial help this week, or I could use some inspiration, and you just say it out loud, and and you gotta go, oh my god, I'm crazy, I'm talking to myself. But no, you're not crazy at all. You're calling in your guides, your higher self, all kinds of help, angels, and it's all there to help us.
Crazy like a fox. Thank you so much. Karen, where can we find you? I'm going to put everything in the description, but why don't you let everyone know your favorite that would they can just jump out and say hello.
Well, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on YouTube, Odyssey, Telegram, X, Rumble, everywhere. But you can also contact me through my website, which is www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. That's KarenHolton, healthcoach.com. Obviously, I'm a different kind of health coach. And take a look under the free resources tab. Check out my online program, all kinds of videos that I think would be helpful. If you want to help support my work, I do have an online shop, and that's about it.
Karen Holton, exopolitical activist and Ascension coach. Thank you so much for being part of the conversation today.
Oh,
Everybody out
thanks for
there,
having me.
thank you so much. We love you, by the way. Fearless family, we send you love. And we're uniting the teams, uniting the tribes. We all come forward now with no fear. No fear. Just come through with the information. Everyone has a piece of the puzzle, and we're all here to share it. Thank you so much for being here. Stay fearless, everyone. And remember, the universe rewards bravery. Have a great night. See you in the next conversation. Peace.